Hello, everybody. I am Megan Conter, the founder of The Dames, and I am delighted to be here with the founder of Raincatcher.com, Marla DiCarlo. I am ecstatic to be here with you, and I'm ecstatic for our listeners and our watchers to be able to really dive into your story, dive into Raincatcher and the Raincatcher difference. And also today we're going to be talking about the beginning of the journey of selling your company and really understanding what goes into your company's value. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. But Marla, why don't we get everyone started by letting them know what your story is, what led you to create Raincatcher, and yeah, let's get started there.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. I appreciate you having me. And I'm really excited about sharing, some helpful tips with the dames. So first off, I'm an accountant and I'm not the stereotypical accountant, which I take a lot of pride in. And I was in mergers and acquisitions for a long time. And during that time, that was the first time I really understood how small business owners are underserved. I didn't understand that till I saw it, and lived it with them. And I just couldn't believe how many business owners had great businesses. I mean, I would walk away thinking, what a fantastic idea, or oh, I can't believe they've made money over the last 60 years doing this, right? But there was something missing. And often what was missing is they knew what they knew as far as their products and services, but they didn't know how to get it to that next level. They were missing that information pretty much because they hadn't experienced it before. They didn't know what they didn't know. So I started a fractional CFO company for a long time and was trying to help them with building value and providing good bookkeeping and accounting. And I loved what I did. And the reason why I share that story is that's the first time I sold my business. And that was an experience because I had been through several different transactions. I mean, at least 100 at that point, but never mine. And I didn't know how hard that was, to take your baby and then pass it off to somebody. I talk about it's almost sending them off to college and how emotional that was. And the things I learned that I thought I knew. So I had the opportunity shortly after that to join Raincatcher. And I thought, oh, yes, this is the journey I've been on. This is where I can help small business owners, and I can take the experiences that I've had helping over 500 business owners in my career and help them with this final transaction, that the most important transaction they'll make in their life. And that's what created Raincatcher, to be able to help these small business owners maximize value and have options and understand how to prepare to sell.
We probably need an entire segment just to talk about this thing I'm about to say, but it's fascinating to me that as business owners, we spend a lifetime, it seems, creating this business. And then somehow we assume that we only need to spend a short period of time at the end to actually sell it. Right, and I think that's the culture shift that you're creating, is really helping business owners understand that, years ago, let's say, 8 years ago or so, when I was in my marketing business, if you had asked me, when people did ask me, how would you like to exit your business? I was like, don't ask me, right? So there's definitely times when we're not even ready for that conversation. But as soon as we're entertaining what's next after that time is over, we should start learning about it so that we can really build that business value up, but also just build ourselves emotionally in a way that's going to be good for us to let go of the business.
Yeah. Megan, that's the number one mistake I see now business owners make, is leaving that important event last. So I often talk about you as a business owner. I understand why it could be too much, to your point, right? When do you want to sell? I'm just trying to figure out how to get payroll done. I'm trying to figure out how I'm not working 7 days a week. So don't talk to me about an exit. I get that. Okay. So I'm not saying, there's certain priorities to building a business, but there are certain decisions you can make along the way that will make that event of exiting your business so much easier if you start to incorporate some of the things that are important to consider early in the process. And I think that's and it's not that business owners don't care, they don't know that. And so that I'm glad you said that is one of the things in Raincatcher we are really trying to change, is educating that business owner early in the process before they come to sell, because it makes our job easier. We create raving fans, and that's what Raincatcher is all about, is maximizing value.
And then you create amazing businesses that are ready for sale when they're actually ready for sale.
That's right. And that's what's most important, right? Is creating not only a valuable business, but a sellable business. That's really important. There is a difference.
Incredibly. So we're going to learn all about that in these upcoming months as Marla and I speak together once a month, and we dive deep into topics that we all need to know as small and medium-sized business owners. So,
yes.
But today, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on the beginning of that journey. And there are many ways to value a company, is what you've taught me. But really what we need to do in small business is a little bit different. And there are many factors that need to be looked at. So give us a little entree into this topic.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because what I want to talk about and what I want to educate, your members, your members in the Dames, is around not only creating a company that someone would want to purchase, but also understanding what are the factors, the attributes that a buyer looks at when they're considering a business, and quite frankly, why they would discount a business. I mean, in my business, we're always talking about the tangible value, which makes sense. We provide a free valuation. That's the first step. And I encourage anyone at any point in their business to get that valuation, because it helps you to understand and be more realistic around building that value, but what happens is
to put that link in the chat, in the comments of this post, so that everyone can go and take that valuation test real quickly.
Wonderful. Please. And we also offer an assessment, which I'm going to talk about shortly here, that will be very helpful as well, because we want to educate you. So we talk a lot about the tangible value, but what we don't talk about is the intangible factors and how that can affect the value of your company. That is what is most important. And that's where, if a buyer looks at a company and they go, okay, they've got free cash flow. They seem to have a good executive team. They don't seem to be too owner dependent. Fantastic, right? And I just named off a couple of those value drivers that really matter. However, they don't really have what is called monopoly control, or Warren Buffett talks about the moat around your business, right? What would prevent a competitor or another industry entrant into your industry just taking your services overnight? Well, if you don't have something special, a differentiator, something that keeps your clients, your customers coming to you and staying with you, then that's a problem. And a buyer's going to realize that and say, oh, this business, even though it's got all these other things, it's missing this, and they're going to discount your business.
Right. Which none of us want, really. So we need to be aware of all these factors and understand what's important, and then be able to build those factors into our business if we don't have them already.
Yes. Yes.
So as we move and talk about that, we also need to look at the actual, you guys call them value builder drivers, and their importance. So these are all reasons why a buyer would discount your business. Is that correct? And will you give us a high level of the 8 different value drivers?
You bet. Yes. And that's exactly it. Not only is this these are the value drivers, the factors, the attributes that you want to make sure that you have maximized in your business before you take it to the market. So first and foremost, financial performance. Many business owners, and I get it, even I bookkeeping and accounting for almost 10 years, helping numerous business owners. I have seen everything. But so I get it. We're busy. I've been guilty of being months behind. But when it comes time to sell your business, if you don't have accurate financials and a buyer can trust the numbers, the historical numbers, the story of your business, if they don't trust that, they're not going to be able to project 5 years out what those earnings are, and it's not going to be worth as much to them. So that's really important. Really important. Number one. The other thing that comes to mind is growth potential. So many business owners, focus on one audience, one market, one geographic location, which I understand that. Do one thing great and then move on to the next thing. But if a buyer can't see can't create a business plan, can't see how your business can expand into other markets. And this, I know I'm speaking your language right now as a market expert, that's really hard then to give a premium price on that business. It's not worth as much.
Absolutely. And why would they want to get into all the expense and oh my gosh, the labor of coming into someone else's business and taking it over when there's no growth potential for it, and they can't see that. They can't wrap their heads around it.
That's right. And so even if you're not ready as a business owner to take that next leap, which is often why business owners sell, is they realize, oh, I can move into this market and the opportunities are endless, but I need capital to do that. And so that's oftentimes when they'll bring in a buyer, right? But you need to make sure that you have a very clear plan of how you're going to do that. And you've set up your business to be able to grow. You don't want a business that's stagnant. No one wants a business that's just flatlined.
Nope.
So really important.
What's the next value builder?
So then, the next thing that comes to mind is the working capital of your business. And we call that the valuation teeter-totter. And basically, when a business owner is going to, or a buyer is going to buy your business, they pretty much write two checks. They write a check for the assets, the buying the company, purchasing what you've built, but then they're also writing a check for what does it take to keep that business running month to month? And so if you've created a business that can support itself and has free cash flow, it's worth a lot more to a buyer than a business that is underperforming or even just breaking even. And so that's very important. And
what does free cash flow look like to a small business owner in layman's terms?
Yeah. So, I mean, pretty much, if you're able to generate positive profit each month, then you've got a business that should be generating free cash flow. As long as, this is where I'll get a little accountant, on your balance sheet, you're not spending all that profit paying off debt. So it's where at the end of paying off everything you owe, you've got money left over. That's what a buyer wants to see. And even if you take that money as a distribution, that's not as important to a buyer because, okay, cool, I can take that distribution, but it's making sure that you covering all of your expenses, all of your debt, and that there's money left over at the end of each month. That's what's important. End of each quarter or year even. Yeah. The other thing that comes to mind is we're talking about free cash flow. And I think a lot of business owners don't give enough attention to this is recurring revenue. So in my business, I'll use that as an example. It's really difficult to be able to project when deals are going to close because there's so many variables that go into closing that deal. So there are other products that we sell that helps us then to be able to cover our overhead month to month. And
Mm.
so that, and we do that through recurring revenue. We do that through the value building, through coaching, and a few other products that we offer. That's really important. A lot of business owners don't understand it's actually easier to create that recurring revenue than you think. Susan Prue, right? She talks about all the time in her plumbing business, several different products that they created for that recurring revenue. That's really important. And that's something where if you're not sure how to do that, that's something a coach can help you think through.
Yes, one of the Raincatcher coaches can help for sure, because that's the thing, is that there is always a way to create recurring income in every single business. You just have to be able to have someone who knows what they're doing and can think about your specific business, your market, your goals, and really help you
Yes.
devise that.
Yes. The next thing that comes to mind is what we call the Switzerland structure. So what this is about is if your business is heavily reliant on certain suppliers and vendors, and we saw this during COVID, for example, and you don't have a risk plan in place where if something happens to that supplier, businesses go out of business. We saw that during COVID where there was actually borders, closed. And so business owners couldn't get the products that they normally would get overseas. If you don't have some type of second plan, a plan B in place, then that can add to concern to a buyer about, well, what happens if something happens in our economy down the road? The other thing is being overly reliant on a customer concentration. So I can think of probably about 25% of the business owners that I've worked with where they were very profitable, they made great revenue, but they were dependent on one customer, oftentimes more than even 50% of their revenue. I think a good rule of thumb, I've heard 15%, 30%. I'm probably more, around the conservative side of about 25%. But and I've got stories, and I could see you shaking your head because I'm sure you've seen it too, where unfortunately that business owner lost that contract, and overnight they
Yep.
had to let go people, they had to make changes to their business, or they couldn't survive because they were too heavily reliant on that customer.
Yeah. And it's these things that we hear, these lessons, we hear these reasons, but not until we experience it do we really take it into importance and consideration. When you need to be looking at have your CFO look with you, or your bookkeeper, or somebody looking with you at what percentage do your different clients make up of your revenue, and making sure
Yes.
that you're not too concentrated, because an outside event could happen, which they do all the time.
Yep.
That's completely out of your control. And either you have to really, really recover and restructure everything, or you could be closed overnight.
That's right. And that's what we saw during COVID.
Yeah. These
That's what we
factors are so
saw.
important to really know as a business owner, even well before you start thinking about selling this business. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yes. Yes. And as we're talking about that, Megan, I'm thinking to myself, it doesn't mean you turn away that contract. Of course you're
No.
going to take that contract, right? But just make sure that you don't stop there. I think that's a mistake. A lot of business, I see that a lot in marketing. And so I'm sure you've got some experiences where they bring on a couple of really large customers and wonderful, celebrate, but continue to, add customers and make sure that you have a diverse group of customers that are not in just one industry or in one circle. Because what happens if something happens to that industry and then overnight you've got a big problem. Another thing I see with the Switzerland structures being overly reliant on a key employee. And what I mean by that is if you make a list of your top, 3, 5 key employees, and you look at their compensation or look at the benefits, the perks that you're offering to them, and you think, boy, I don't know why they're here. you better start getting creative. And we've seen that in this job market. There's so many businesses that are hiring again, offering sign-on bonuses. And so people are moving on to different companies. So culture is important. Make sure you have a culture where someone wants to be there. It's more than just the money. And then also, there's so many ways to create performance bonuses around the profits of the business and what that employee brings to that company. So just doing something like that, where you're rewarding behavior and results, with what they're contributing to the company is really important.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
what other factors do we need to look at here?
So the other couple that come to mind is hub and spoke, because we just talked about being overly reliant on suppliers, vendors, customers, and employees. But what about the owner?
Row.
Right. And I think this is where the easiest way to communicate the importance of this is the difference between creating a company that is sustainable on its own versus a job that is completely 100% dependent on you as the owner. And when I say that, I've had business owners say, well, Marla, I just started. I'm not talking about startups. That is all of us have been there. We were the only person working normally with the customers. But I would say by about year 3, if you are still finding that all problems are coming back to you, all customers are coming back to you, all employees are bringing you have to make every decision. It's time to start looking at creating a team that can operate outside of you. And there's so many ways to do that, but that is really important. I think that's another thing that small business owners struggle with, because how do you take that next step? Because it's like this vicious cycle. You got to have the revenue in order to find the employees, and you got to be able to, create systems and processes so that everybody understands how you need things done. And there's ways you can do that, I promise you. And you will be so much more successful if you start thinking about those things and putting that in place, even from year 1, even if you are the only person doing that, but start to prepare to do that, it will make a big difference.
And you have coaches on your team who are prepared to help with the systems and processes and people aspects too. So
yes, we actually, there's one coach I'm thinking of right now. That's all she does. And she's the dames.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. That's all she does. She's one of our coaches, and fantastic, right? That's her focus, is helping you to put those processes down on paper, making sure the right people are fulfilling the right roles and responsibilities. And listen, we're all in different stages. It doesn't matter. Don't compare yourself as a business owner to somebody that's a stage, 3, 4, or 5 if you're in stage 1, because we were in stage 1 at one point. So everybody's in a different development phase, but being aware of this and being open to, making those changes makes the difference. That's really what we're talking about. And then, the other thing that I'm thinking of as we're talking about this, that I see a lot of business owners make this mistake, is what I call monopoly control. And Warren Buffett often refers to this as the moat that you create around your business. And really what it is it's a differentiator. What makes your business different, unique from your competitor? And an easy way that I like to tell business owners to understand how this matters is a buyer is not going to buy a business that they can build faster than buying your business. So if you don't have something different about your products and services, and they can just start it up and build it from scratch, versus you buying the business and having the value that you've built in it, that makes a big difference to a buyer on the premium they're going to pay for your business. If a competitor or someone that has the same idea can just come in and take over your customers overnight, well, your business isn't very valuable. So you've got to think about, what are the things that makes me different? In Raincatcher, one of the things for us, because we're, there's tons of business brokers, we are focused on teaching that business owner the options that are available to them and helping them understand the process of selling their business before we'll even talk to them about taking them to the market. Because we feel like that's our differentiator. We want that business owner to have the option to fully maximize before we push them into an agreement. That's our differentiator. And the expertise that we have on our staff and the processes and how we control that, that's our differentiator.
Love it. Well,
Really.
we only have a couple more minutes to wrap up here. So is there anything else that we need to cover at a high level for the value builder conversation?
One last thing, and I left this on purpose, and that is customer satisfaction. So customer satisfaction is something that goes beyond just what the owner, if the owner thinking that their customers are happy with the services that they're providing. It's the easiest way to do this is a net promoter score. And that's something else that we can help you to set up. It's very easy to do. I know it's a little scary because it's like, oh, having to get feedback. What if it's negative? but what if it's positive? And what if you're able to take that negative and that positive feedback, and you're able to make the changes in your company that matter to your audience, to your customer, and you end up creating this business where why would they go anywhere else? You provide the best services. There's nowhere else to go because they can't get the satisfaction anywhere else. So it's really important.
You know what I like about all of these is that, to me, and maybe it's because I'm an inventor, but I see the possibility in all of these factors, right? I don't look at any of them as limiters. I look at all of them as, wow, there's potential for growth in every company in all of these factors. Yes. So why wouldn't we want to go to the school of Raincatcher and learn how to really build our value by looking at all these different areas and understanding how we can improve, so that ultimately when we do get to that point of sale, it's a walk in the park comparatively.
I'm so glad you said it like that, because that is exactly why we're here. That's why I'm talking to you today and talking to the dames, is because we understand that a business owner is not going to understand these factors are important or what they need to do unless they've been through it. And so it is going to the school of Raincatcher. Listen, we know our stuff. And so we can walk you through, and we understand you're a busy business owner. We get it. We are business owners. So we're going to create a plan of action that works with your timetable. And what we're going to do is we're going to work around your timeline of wanting to exit your business, so that when you do exit, you don't regret it. You've done everything you can to create not only a valuable business, but a sellable business. And there's nothing left on the table. You can walk away from that going, I created the best business I can, and I'm happy with what I achieved, and I'm happy with the transaction of selling my business.
That feels so good. So good. So as a result of this first segment, what is the next best action that a business owner of Dame could take?
Yeah, I would say talk to us about the value of your company. So I'll put a link on the forum for everyone so they can take that free valuation. And when you fill out that form, it will also give you an opportunity to take a quick 13-minute assessment. It asks you some questions that you should know. And what it will do is it will provide this robust report around the 8 value drivers we just talked about, telling you the score of your business and in those 8 drivers, and an action plan of how you can work on those drivers and why they're important. So that's where I would start. I think every business owner needs to know where they're at so they know where they're going.
And what happens when they get that report and they're like, okay, what do I do next? How do I work with Raincatcher to be able to get that support, because a lot of business owners, I would say, aren't going to know, even if it's the greatest report on the face of the planet, they probably want support from someone. So what would Raincatcher do next?
Yeah. So the next thing that we would do is you connect with Susan Frew, who's our director of business growth and an incredible coach. And we have a line of coaches as well, a bench of coaches. And so what happens is after, if you go, I would like to know a little bit more about how I can reduce dependency, on my customers and my suppliers, and, hub and spoke, reduce dependency on me. Our brokers will schedule a call with you and Susan will talk to you about a plan of action for your business. Often what we do is a deep dive where we'll come into the business, we'll spend a day with the business owner and the staff, whole bunch of questions. You end up with a report that is incredible, so much information about your business. And from there, then we can create an action plan on how to improve the business value and create a sellable company. So the thing I would say is don't be afraid of taking that next step. Allow us to help you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love that. And I think that is key for so many of us is yes, there are big steps that have to be taken here. That is clear. Yes, there are big fish to fry in this whole process. And when you work with the experts who are there to walk you through it, hold your hand, making sure that you're going to get the best results possible, you're taken care of. You can feel that support system underneath you.
That's right. And the last thing I'll end with, and I think this is really important, Megan, and I know you know this about us, which is why we partnered and you partnered with us, is what I will promise that business owner, and this is a part of our core values, we will always put the interest of that business owner before our own interest. We will tell you the hard truths. We're not going to tell you a story just to get you to sign an agreement. Our goal is to create raving fans and help small business owners. And so, I know building trust takes time, but we want to be there for you. Our heart's in the right place.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Marla, for taking the time today and for educating us on this beautiful beginning of the journey. And we're going to have so much fun as we do this monthly. So stay tuned for next month. And if you have any other questions that pop up, you're always welcome to comment on this post or reach out to raincatcher.com to ask any of those questions, and they'd be happy to help you. Thank you, Marla, for this partnership, Megan, for this sponsorship, and for everything that you're doing for the small business community.
Thank you.